So I'm going to read the opening prayer for you. Aho, betoyoke, oyasin. To all my relations. I honor you in the circle of life with me today. I am grateful for this opportunity to acknowledge you in this prayer. To the Creator, for the ultimate gift of life, I thank you. To the mineral nation that has built and maintained my bones and all foundation of life experience, I thank you. To the plant nation that sustains my organ and body, it gives me healing herbs for sickness, I thank you. To the animal nation that feeds me from your own flesh and offers your loyal companionship in this walk of life, I thank you. To the human nation that shares my path as a soul upon the sacred wheel of earthly life, I thank you. To the spirit nation that guides me invisibly through the ups and downs of life, and for carrying the torch of light through the ages, I thank you. To the four winds of change and growth, I thank you. You are all my relations, my relatives, without whom I would not live. We are in the circle of life together, coexisting, codependent, co-creating our destiny. One not more important than the other. One nation evolving from the other, yet each dependent on the one above and the one below. All of us part of the great mystery. Thank you for this life. Yes, Widdershins is here. So that's kind of a Native American version of the opening prayer. Now there's a little prayer that I would like to add. Irish witch just lost her friend, Ozzy, her cat. She had to put him down due to bladder crystals, and that was really, really hard. So we would like to thank all the nations for the joy that Ozzy Cat was able to share with Irish Witch for the last 7-8 years. And remember that sometimes, we have to do things that are so difficult. And Irish Witch made a very, very difficult decision when she had to put down her cat. She traded grief for his peace. And that's a tough trade to make. So our prayers are with you and with Ozzy. So does anybody have any questions or comments before we get a little bit into Ostara? We're going to talk a little bit about the history of Ostara. And that's the festival that's going to be coming up here, the 21st of March. And a little bit of history and lore. The winter, harsh and long, is now fading. The earth is waking up from her frozen slumber, and it's time to rejoice in life, warmth, and the renewal of the spirit. Come celebrate and worship with us as we give birth to all things fresh and new. Enjoy the hypnotic rhythms of the drum circle, the hugs of old friends and the laughter of children, the joy of togetherness. Let us connect with family, loved ones, and friends, old and new, as we turn the wheel to Ostara. Ostara is one of the lesser pagan Sabbats, and is usually celebrated on the 21st, although because of its origins may be instead celebrated on the fixed date of March 25th. Other names by which this Sabbat may be known besides Ostara, is Estra's Day, Rite of Estra, Alban Elair, the Festival of the Trees, and Lady Day. The Christian holiday of Easter is very near the same time, notice the similarity of the name, and is determined as the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. The name for the Sabbath actually comes from that of the Teutonic lunar goddess, Estra. Her chief symbols were the bunny, for fertility, because the ancient ones who worshipped her often saw the image of a rabbit in full moon, and the egg, representing the cosmic egg of creation. This is where the customs of Easter eggs and the Easter bunny originated. One tale tells how Estra, found a wounded bird in the snow. To help the little bird survive the winter, she transformed it into a rabbit. But the transformation was incomplete, and the rabbit retained the ability to lay eggs. In thanks for its life being saved, the rabbit took the eggs and decorated them, and left them as gifts for Istra. Again she was delighted, and wanted all to share her joy, so the tradition continued. Ostara is a time to celebrate the arrival of spring, the renewal and rebirth of nature itself, and the coming lushness of the summer. It is at this time when light and darkness are in balance, yet the light is growing stronger by day. The forces of masculine and feminine energy, yin and yang, are also in balance at this time. And at this time we think of renewing ourselves. We renew our thoughts, our dreams, and our aspirations. We think of renewing our relationships. This is an excellent time of the year to begin anything new or to completely revitalize something. This is also an excellent month for prosperity rituals or any ritual that has to do with growth. Did everybody get that? That's just a little bit about Ostara. There's a lot more lore out there. Unfortunately, I'm going to be covering a lot in a little bit of time, so I've summarized things a little bit. But it is an absolutely picture-perfect poster child of a pagan holiday adapted to Christianity. Now, the next thing that I would like to talk to you about a little bit is, hang on a second. Let me move this over. There we go. I'm doing a little bit adjusting on my screen real quick. That way I can see you guys and I can see me too. Another thing that I would like to talk to you about is National Pagan Coming Out Day. Did you guys know it's coming? What is Pagan Coming Out Day? Obviously, it's a Pagan Coming Out Day. It's a day when individuals deciding on their own terms take a step that help foster a society that truly tolerates all religions. It's a day when our religious community comes together to support those coming out to a person or to a group and celebrates the more public emergence of their pagan identity. Now, what is meant by out? Being out means you're no longer actively hiding your religion due to fear of discovery. You're open about your religion to your family, even if it's uncomfortable. It means being willing to request and expect equal treatment in the workplace. However, it is not an either-or proposition, as some pagans are out to some people in their lives and not others. The phrase coming out can have two meanings. It's an entrance into a new world of hope and communal solidarity, or it's an exit from the oppression of the closet. Some of the reasons why a person would want to come out, and I don't say should, because should Should depends on the person. Nobody should come out. You choose to come out. You're under no obligation to come out. So should is not a word you use when talking to somebody about their decision to come out or not. Coming out to someone is a decision only you can make, and it's a decision best made when you're mentally and emotionally ready to do it. Pagan Coming Out Day is not about shaming other pagans or polytheists into coming out when they're not ready. We do believe that there are benefits personally and for our religious community as a whole to coming out. Some of those benefits include a reduction of anxiety in your life caused by living a double life, and encouraging a climate of greater tolerance and acceptance of paganism. As more people realize that they know a friend and a loved one who are a pagan, these things start to dispel the fear. So Pagan Coming Out Day officially is May 2nd. Any day can be a good day to do it. You do it when you're ready. But, just so you know, that is the traditional Pagan Coming Out Day. And the next little thing I would like to talk to you about is Saint Patrick. Saint Patrick was an Irish. Did you know that Saint Patrick wasn't Irish? Yes, he is an Irish saint. So, let's talk a little about Saint Paddy. Saint Patrick wasn't Irish, so what was he? Let's debunk some myths surrounding the patron saint of Ireland. St. Patrick's Day is a time to get jiggy wearing green, displaying shamrocks, drinking green beer, and eating corned beef and cabbage. But just who is St. Patrick, and why do we celebrate his feast day? He was born in Wales to wealthy parents about 385 A.D. and was given the name Maewyn. And although his father was a Christian deacon, there is no evidence to suggest that Maewyn came from a particularly religious family. He considered himself a pagan until the age of 16, when he was kidnapped by a group of Irish raiders who attacked his family's estate. Maewyn was taken to Ireland, where he spent 6 years in captivity, working as a shepherd, during which time he became Christian and took the name Patrick. After escaping captivity, he studied in a monastery for 12 years. It was here that he realized his calling was to convert pagans to Christianity. Patrick's superiors honored his wishes to return to Ireland and appointed him as the second bishop of the country. During his 30-year mission in Ireland, he established monasteries. Hang on. Here we go. Okay. He established monasteries and set up schools and churches. Within 200 years of his arrival in Ireland, Patrick had Christianized the entire country. He died on March 17th, 1461 A.D., and that day has been commemorated as St. Patrick's Day ever since. On St. Patrick's Day, which falls in the Christian season of Lent, Irish families would traditionally attend church in the morning and celebrate in the afternoon. Lenten prohibitions against the consumption of meat were waived, and people would dance, drink, and feast on the traditional meal of Irish bacon and cabbage. In the centuries following St. Patrick's death, the mythology surrounding his life became ever more ingrained in the Irish culture. Among the legends is that 1. He explained the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, using 3 leaves of the native Irish clover. The shamrock, which led to his followers adopting the shamrock as a symbol of this day. Another story is that St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland. And thanks to Lorelei, I now know that the driving of the snakes from Ireland is actually a a metaphor for driving paganism or pagans out of Ireland, which isn't something that I had actually thought of, though I do get the symbolism. So while it's true that there are no snakes in Ireland today, there never were. There's too much cold water surrounding the island for snakes to immigrate from anywhere. But since the snake represents so much literary evil, their absence became a convenient allegory for the goodness that he brought to the country. The St. Patrick's Day came to America in 1737 and was first celebrated in Boston. Irish immigrants, in order to save money, substituted corned beef for the traditional bacon and cabbage. And the first parade, held to honor St. Patrick's Day, took place not in Ireland, but in the United States on March 17th in 1762. Irish soldiers serving in the English military marched through New York City. Another tradition, started in 1962, was the annual dyeing of the Chicago River green. 40 pounds of vegetable dye is used to color the river for several hours on St. Patty's Day. So anyway, just a little bit of fun trivia for St. Patrick. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding St. Patrick? I used to live in Ireland. Absolutely loved it. I would move there again in a heartbeat if I could dodge the if I could dodge the Garda and the Irish. But I lived there for almost a year as an illegal immigrant. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Met a lot of people, and lived as just an ordinary Irish folk. Yeah. So yeah, we are so sorry, Irish Witch. And we sent our blessings to Ozzy and you a little bit earlier. It's so hard when you make that kind of a trade, and you have to question your decision. And I don't question what you did at all. I think it was the greatest good and the greatest act of love that you could have given him. So now, no, well, I actually had an invitation to move to Lord's. I was taking care of a couple of gals in Ireland, and Mel, who was the nephew and in charge of their care, wanted to move Maisie to Lord's, and invited me to move to Lord's with her. Unfortunately, that was a little bit more than I was quite ready for at the time, so I declined. But sometimes you got to wonder, what kind of turns your life would have taken if you had taken every opportunity that unfolds before you. But I'm not sorry I didn't go, because I met my wonderful husband when I came home, and I wouldn't have if I had gone to Lord's. So anyway, that's just pretty much it for the pagan news at the moment. There's really not. You're near there. Cool. Have you ever actually gone up to Lord's, Lorelei? I've heard it's quite an overwhelming journey. I was kind of scratching, but hey. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to pause the broadcast and everybody take 5, because what we're going to do when we come back in 5 minutes is start on Chapter 4 of Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. And what we'll be covering in this chapter are the tools. Now, my personal opinion is tools really aren't necessary, but tools are just that. They are tools. They are used for focusing. They put you in a particular state of mind that you need to be in for casting both circles and spells. But there will come a time when you will find that they are more symbolic than anything else. So what we will be talking about is Tools of the Trade, Chapter 4. We are back in business. Nope, I'm back. Had to refresh. Alright. Now, does everybody have something to drink? Something to snack on? And a pen and paper handy in case you guys want to take any notes, because we are ending the night with some trivia. So what we're doing is we are reading Chapter 4 of Scott Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. This chapter will be covering tools: the broom, the wand, the censer, the cauldron, the athame, the white-handled knife, also called the boline, your crystal sphere, your cup, book of shadows, and your bell. Chapter 4, Tools. Yes, there is no video. I don't do video. I just do audio. So, here we go. Chapter 4, Tools. In common with most religions, certain objects are used in Wicca for ritual purposes. These tools invoke the deities, banish negativity, direct energy through our touch and intention. Some of the tools of the witch, the broom, the cauldron, the magic wand, have gained firm places in contemporary folklore and myth. Through the popularization of folk tales and the work of Disney studios, millions now know that cauldrons are used to brew up potions and that wands are used to transform the drab into the beautiful. Most folks, however, don't know the powerful magic behind such tools and their inner symbolism in Wicca. To practice Wicca, you may want to collect at least some of these tools. Search through antique and junk shops, swap meets, and flea markets for these little treasures, or write to occult suppliers or go to occult shops. Though difficult to find, your ritual tools are well worth any efforts expended to obtain them. Now, I feel, honestly, that the best tools that you use in your workings are the tools that you make yourself. I would find more power in a wand that I carved myself than any that I could find in any shop, no matter how fancy it was. Because it gives you the opportunity to commune with nature and to thank the tree, to make sure that that tree is okay with you repurposing that for that specific for that specific tool. These tools aren't necessary to the practice of Wicca. However, they enrich rituals and symbolize complex energies. The tools have no power save for that which you lend them. Some say that we should use magical tools until we no longer need them. Perhaps it's better to use them as long as you feel comfortable doing so. Number 1. The broom. Witches use brooms in magic and ritual. It is a tool sacred to both the goddess and god. This is nothing new. Pre-Columbian Mexico saw the worship of a type of witch deity, whose name I cannot pronounce. It is spelled, however, Tlazelteotl, who was pictured riding naked on a broom. The Chinese worship a broom goddess, who is invoked to bring clear weather in times of rain. Then, too, probably because of its phallic shape, the broom became a powerful tool against curses and practitioners of evil magic. Laid across the threshold, the broom halted all spells sent to the house or to the resident within. A small broom under the pillow brought pleasant dreams and guarded the sleeper. European witches became identified with the broom because both were infused with magic in religious and popular thought. Witches were accused of flying on broomsticks, and this was considered proof of their allegiance with dark powers. Such an act, if it could be performed, would indeed be supernatural, therefore of the devil's eyes, in contrast to the simple healing and love spells that witches actually performed. Of course, the tale was invented by witch persecutors. Today the broom is still used in Wicca. A Wiccan may begin a ritual by sweeping the area, indoors or out, lightly with their besom or broom. After this, the altar is set up and the tools are carried out. The ritual is ready to begin. This sweeping is more than a physical cleansing. In fact, the broom's bristles needn't even touch the ground. While brushing, the Wiccan visualizes the broom sweeping out the astral buildup that occurs while humans live. This purifies the area to allow smoother ritual workings. Since it is a purifier, the broom is linked with the element of water. Thus, it is also used in all types of water spells, including those of love and psychic workings. Many witches collect brooms. Indeed, their endless variety and exotic materials used in their manufacture make this a real interesting hobby. If you wish to make your own magic broom, you might try the old magical formula of an ash staff, birch twigs, and a willow binding. Ash is protective, birch is purifying, and the willow is sacred to the goddess. Of course, a branch from any tree or any bush can be used in place of the broom while cutting it. Thank the tree for its sacrifice. Using such words, it will be found in the herbal grimoire. This is in the section, the Standing Stone Book of Shadows. A tiny broom of pine needles can also be used. Now, I will tell you a very easy. The Standing Stone Book of Shadows is in this book. This is it is Scott Cunningham's Book of Shadows that he has publicly shared with us, and it is an addition to this edition of Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner that I am using. I'm not sure if it is available separately. If you want an easy way to make a broom, and this is my own, you can use any stick, basically, a decently round, thick stick that you have procured. And for the bristles, if you take and soak corn husks that are traditionally used for tamales, you will find that they tear beautifully into strands, and they curl very nicely. So you can use corn husks in order to make your bristles. Bind them very nicely with another piece of the corn husk or even a piece of string, and you have a very nice little broom. I would say soak them for about an hour in a good hot pot of water. Don't boil them, just bring the water to a boil and throw them in. And once they're nice and pliable, then go ahead and put them on, fasten them to your handle. And after they're fastened, then you will begin to tear them and tear along the striations that you see. They will tear beautifully, and you can even get them almost hair thin. And when they dry, they curl slightly, so they get that great old besom look. Okay? So, quick little formula for making your own broom that you can, say, put under your bed. Of course, in early American slave weddings, as well as gypsy nuptials, and gypsy for me is a very antiquated word, so for my personal peace of mind, I prefer Romani. The couple often ritually jump a broomstick to solemnize their union. Such marriages are quite common until recent times, and even today Wiccan and pagan hand fastings often include the leap of a broom. There are many old spells involving brooms. In general, the broom is, oh my God, I'm going to have to say this, purificatory. Oh my God, I said it. Wow, okay. And a protective instrument used to ritually cleanse an area before magic or to guard a home by laying it across the threshold, under the bed, or in windowsills, or over doors. The broom used for magic, as with all magical tools, should be reserved for only this purpose. So if you decide to buy a broom, try to find a round one. The flat, shaker-type brooms don't really seem to have the same effect. Okay? I can't believe I am not a fan of the word gypsy. And, he uses this because at the time, this book was written, it was a different time. It was, I think, 1980... 1988. So, yeah, it's a bit of an antiquated term, which I shudder to use myself. The wand is the next one that we're going to talk about. The wand is one of the prime magical tools. It has been utilized for thousands of years in magical and religious rites. It's an instrument of invocation. The goddess and god may be called to watch the ritual with words and an uplifted wand. It is also sometimes used to direct energies, to draw magical symbols or a circle on the ground, to point toward danger while perfectly balanced on the witch's palm or arm, or even to stir a brew in the cauldron. The wand represents the element of air to some Wiccans, and is sacred to the gods. There are traditional woods that are used for making a wand, including willow, elder, oak, apple, peach, hazel, cherry, among others. Some Wiccans cut at the length from crook to elbow. So, from the tip of your forefinger to the crook of your elbow, traditionally could be the length of your wand, but it's not necessary. Any fairly straight piece of wood can be used. Even dowels purchased from hardware stores can work, and they're fun for carving. I could never use a dowel as a wand. For me, particularly, a wand, when it is obtained the same as a broom, you thank the tree. Knowing where the wood of your wand comes from, and that it wasn't mass harvested by a machine and run through a mill, is extremely important. The idea of using a dowel as a wand just makes me shudder, but to each their own. New Age consciousness and merchandising has brought the wand to renewed prominence. Delightful, beautiful creations fashioned of silver and quartz crystals are now available in a wide range of sizes and prices. These certainly could be used within a Wiccan ritual. The wooden wands have a longer history. Don't worry about finding the ideal wand at first. One will come to you. I used a length of licorice root as a wand for a while and had good results with it. Any stick that you use can be infused with energy and power. Find one that feels comfortable and you'll do just fine. A dowel is one of those round sticks of wood that you can buy at Walmart or a hardware store. And basically it's like a cooking skull. It's a long wood peg. Fortunately, dowels are about 35 cents to $1 at a hardware store. But they're harvested and cut by machine. So there is it's empty as far as I'm concerned. So finding a wand, finding a piece of wood, to me is a very, very spiritual experience. So it's important that it is rightly harvested, and anything that is ripped out of the ground in a mass harvesting just can't do it for me. The next one is called the censer. The censer is an incense burner. It can be complex. It can be simple. Some of the ones that you might be able to imagine in your mind are the censers that are swung in the Catholic Church. A simple seashell can also suffice. The censer holds a smoldering incense during a Wiccan rite. If you cannot find a suitable censer, make one. Any bowl and cup half filled with sand or salt can serve well. The salt or sand absorbs the heat from the charcoal or incense and prevents the bowl from cracking. Incense sticks can also be pushed into the salt or cones placed on its surface. Incense use in ritual and magic is an art in and of itself. When no specific incense is called for in rituals or spells, use your own intuition and your own creativity in determining which blend you want to use. Stick, cone, or block incense can be used, but most Wiccans favor the raw or granulated incense, the type which must be burned on a self-lighting charcoal briquette, available from either smoke shops or occult suppliers. Either one is fine. In ceremonial magic, spirits are sometimes commanded to appear in visible form in the rising smoke from the censer. While this isn't part of Wicca, the goddess and god can sometimes be seen in the curling and twisting smoke. Sitting while breathing slowly and watching the smoke can be an entrancing act and might help you slip into an altered state of consciousness. Wiccan ritual, when performed indoors, isn't complete without incense. Outdoors, a fire often substitutes, or stick-type incense is stuck into the ground. Thus, the censer is an important tool for indoor rites. To some of the Wicca, the censer represents the element of air. It is often placed before the images of the deities on the altar. The cauldron. The cauldron is the witch's tool par excellence. It is an ancient vessel of cooking and brew-making, steeped in magical tradition and mystery. The cauldron is a container in which magical transformations occur. The sacred grail, the holy spring, and the sea of primeval creation. The Wicca see the cauldron as a symbol of the goddess, the manifested essence of femininity and fertility. It is also symbolic of the element of water, reincarnation, immortality, and inspiration. Celtic legends concerning Cerridon's cauldron have a strong impact on contemporary Wicca. The cauldron is often a focal point of ritual. During spring rites, it is sometimes filled with fresh water and flowers. During winter, a fire may be kindled within the cauldron to represent the returning heat and light of the sun, or the god, from the cauldron of the goddess. This links in with agricultural myth, wherein the god is born in winter, reaches maturity in summer, and dies after the last harvest. Ideally speaking, the cauldron should be of iron, resting on 3 legs, with its opening smaller than its widest part. Cauldrons can be difficult to find, even small ones, but a thorough search usually produces some type of a cauldron. A few mail-order houses stock cauldrons, but not regularly, so you may wish to query ahead of time before you go down and pick one up. Cauldrons come in all sizes, ranging from a few inches in diameter to monsters 3 feet across. The cauldron can be an instrument of scrying. Everybody familiar with scrying? Scrying is the practice of gazing deeply into something, basically, and losing yourself. When you lose yourself or you trance during scrying, you will often see images, flashes of both past, present, and future. You can do this by filling your cauldron with water and staring into its inky depths. It can also serve as a container in which to brew up those famous Wiccan brews, but bear in mind that a large fire and plenty of patience are required for liquids to boil in larger cauldrons, so most Wiccans use stove and cooking pots today. If you have difficulty finding a cauldron, persevere and one will eventually materialize. It certainly can't hurt to ask the goddess and god to send one your way. Now, when I did not have a cauldron, I will tell you, I used a terracotta planter. You can get them at most stores. Oh, what part? What I used? I used a terracotta pot that had no hole in the bottom. And you can get them pretty much anywhere. They hold heat pretty well. You sure as hell don't want to hold it while you're burning stuff. Ideally speaking, the cauldron should be of iron, resting on 3 legs. Does everybody know why a cauldron should rest on 3 legs and what it symbolizes? Now the next one that we're going to cover is the magic knife. The magic knife, thank you MCM, perfectly. Maiden of Mother Crone, the Trinity Goddess. Yes. Now, Scott Cunningham refers to the athame as the magic knife. I prefer athame. So, that's how I'm going to rate it. The athame has an ancient history. It isn't used for cutting purposes in Wicca, but to direct energy raised during rites and spells. It is seldom used to invoke or call upon deities, for it is an instrument of commanding power and manipulation. We'd rather invoke the goddess and god. The knife is often dull, usually double-edged, with a black or dark handle. Black absorbs power. When the knife is used in ritual to direct energy, some of this power is absorbed into the handle, only a tiny amount, which can be called upon later. Then again, sometimes energy raised within Wiccan ritual is channeled into the knife for later use. The stories of swords with magical powers and names are quite common in mythic literature, and swords are nothing more than large knives. Some Wiccans engrave their athmes with magical symbols, usually taken from the Key of Solomon, but this isn't necessary. As with most magical tools, the knife becomes powerful by your touch and your usage. However, if you so desire, scratch words, symbols, or runes into its blade or handle. A sword is sometimes used in Wicca, as it has all the properties of the knife, but it can be difficult for indoor ritual use due to its size. Because of the symbolism of the knife, which is a tool that causes change, it is commonly linked with the element of fire. Its phallic nature links it to the god. Now, can anybody tell me what the white-handled knife is called? Yeah, we've got 3 pages to go. The nice. Woohoo! We got a winner. The bowline. And the white-handled knife, the bowline, is simply a practical working knife as opposed to its purely ritualistic magic knife. It is used to cut wands or sacred herbs, inscribe symbols onto candles, on wood, clay, or wax, and in cutting cords for use in magic. It is usually white-handled to distinguish it from the magic knife. Some Wiccan traditions dictate that the white-handled knife be used only within the magic circle. This would, of course, limit its usefulness. It seems to me that using it solely for ritual purposes, such as harvesting flowers from the garden to place on the altar during ritual, confirms the tool's sacralness and allows its use out of the sacred space. So, yeah, and I agree with him on that. Your intent with this knife is for sacred use. So the idea of having to use it within a circle is a bit too extreme for me. For me, that would lose its practicality. My bowling goes basically where I go. Most bowlines are curved. It's not necessary. The bowling itself isn't necessary. But if you're, doing your cutting with anything at all, please, please, please make sure you never cut with your athame. Never cut anything solid with your athame. Your athame is used for spiritual energy only. Cutting doors, direction, such. Yeah. Now, and there's a lot of people who really think that, a bowling should only be used in ritual space, but for me, your bowling is your best friend. You take it where you go. Yeah, definitely 2 different purposes. Yes. Exactly. An athame traditionally is a dull knife. Now, my high priestess uses both a traditional sword and a black-handled athame, depending on, if we're inside, usually she uses the athame. Outside, she uses the full sword. And my cat is trying really hard to jump on the computer, so there we go. Yep. Yeah, so are hers. But it's the difference is that it's a full sword, so everybody knows sword sharp. There's no way of real mixing them up. The next one that we're going to talk about is the crystal spheres in particular. Quartz crystals are extremely popular today, but the quartz crystal sphere, boy, that's hard to say. The quartz crystal sphere is an ancient magical tool. It is exquisitely expensive, selling for $20 to thousands of dollars, depending on size. Most crystal balls on the market made today are glass, leaded glass, or even some are even hard plastic. Genuine quartz crystal spheres can be determined by their high prices and the inclusions or irregularities inside. The crystal has long been used in contemplative divination. The diviner gazes into the ball until his psychic faculties blossom. And images, just like in scrying, and this is a form of scrying, seen in the mind or projected by it into the depths of the crystal, reveal the necessary information. In Wiccan ritual, the crystal is sometimes placed on the altar to represent the goddess. Its shape, sphere, is goddess symbolic, as well as are all circles and rounds. And its icy cold temperature, another way to determine whether or not it's genuine rock crystal, is symbolic of the depths of the sea, the goddess's domain. Then, too, the crystal may be used to receive messages from the gods, or to store energy raised in rituals. Some Wiccans scry in the crystal to call up energy of the goddess or past lives. It is a magical object touched with the divine, and if you find one, guard it carefully. Periodic exposure to moonlight, or rubbing the crystal with fresh mugwort, will increase its ability to spark your psychic powers. It may be the center of your full moon rituals. Anybody out here actually have a quartz crystal sphere for scrying? I love the obsidian. For me, scrying, I scry better with things that are black, rather than crystal. For some reason, inky blackness just has a tendency to resound. It can be very difficult to maintain, to keep yourself anchored, so to speak, when you are scrying in black. Scrying mirrors, especially. The next one that we're going to cover, and we're almost done with the tools, is the cup. Now, the cup is simply a cauldron on a stem. It symbolizes the goddess in fertility and is related to the element of water. Though it can be used to hold water, which is often present on the altar, it may also contain the ritual beverage imbibed during rite. The cup can be made of nearly any substance. Silver, brass, gold, earthenware, soapstone, doesn't really matter. Now, one of the symbols of the divine union is the athame dipped into your chalice. Now, this is the big one. This is the most important to me. A lot of people will say that the athame is the most important. Some people will say the wand is the most important. The most important tool in witchcraft, in my humble opinion, is your Book of Shadows. Your Book of Shadows is your inspiration. It is your tool. It is your best friend. It's your muse. It holds everything you aspire to, everything you have learned. And there is nothing, in my opinion and in my practice, that is more important than keeping your Book of Shadows and keeping it personal. The Book of Shadows is a Wiccan workbook containing invocations, ritual patterns, spells, runes, rules governing magic, and so on. Some books of shadows are passed on from one Wiccan to another, usually upon initiation, but the vast majority of books today are composed by each individual Wiccan. Don't believe the stories in most other Wiccan books that one single Book of Shadows has been handed down from antiquity, for each sect of Wicca seems to claim that their own is the original, and they're all different. Although, until recently, a Book of Shadows was usually handwritten. Some people type them or even photocopy versions, and it's quite common. For me, there is something about the fluidity of a pen on paper, watching as the fibers are drenched with ink, that is very magical in and of itself. There is something in the script, there is something in the flow of writing that empowers writing for me. And although until recently, a Book of Shadows was usually handwritten, today typed or even photocopied versions are quite common. Some Wiccans are even computerizing their books to create, as friends of mine call it, the floppy disk of shadows. Oh boy, that kind of dates, huh? You can tell this book was written in 1988 just by the words floppy disk. I don't think most of you even remember what the hell a floppy disk is. Oh my God. To make your own Book of Shadows, begin with any blank book. These are available in most art stores or bookshops. If you cannot find a blank bound book, any lined exercise book will do. Simply write in this book any rituals, spells, invocations, and magical information that you have either composed or found elsewhere and would like to preserve. Remember, all Books of Shadows, including the one in this section, are suggestions as to ritual, not holy writ. Never feel tied down to any words. In fact, many witches use three-ring binders, shuffling around pages, adding or subtracting information from their Book of Shadows at will, which is exactly what I do. It is a good idea to copy your spells and rites by hand. Not only does this ensure that you've read the work completely, it also allows easier reading by candlelight. Ideally, all rites are memorized. There is nothing more distracting than having to glance or read at your book during a rite. It destroys your imagery, or create it spontaneously. But if you would read your rites, be sure your copies are legible by flickering firelight. Okay? Now, does anybody want to share their Book of Shadows blessing? And if you'd like, I can read you mine. I have no problem with that. I'd be happy to. The last one that we're going to talk about is the bell. Now, the bell has a tendency to be forgotten. And it's a real shame because the tone of a bell is very important. It sends a sweetness into the air. It cuts. It brings to attention. It beckons. Different bells have different tones. And the bell's tone can be used for different things. You can use a deeper bell for more solemn. You can use a higher toned bell. Yes, I do too. You can use a higher toned bell for, fairy magic, for luck magic. The bell is a song, and it's a very, very lovely way to call and to offer make an offering to the god and goddess. Sometimes we don't have anything to offer. And if you guys remember an old Christmas song called The Little Drummer Boy, what the drummer boy was poor, and the only thing that he had to offer was the sound of his drum. And the sound of a bell is a very, very sweet, beautiful offering. Okay? The bell is a ritual instrument of incredible antiquity. Ringing a bell unleashes vibrations which have powerful effects according to its volume, tone, and the material of its construction. The bell is a feminine symbol and is also used to invoke the goddess in ritual. It is also rung to ward off evil spirits and evil spells, to halt storms, and to evoke good energies. Placed in cupboards or hung on a door, it guards the home. Bells are sometimes rung in ritual to mark various sections and to signal a spell's beginning and end. Any type of bell can be used. Now these are some of the tools used in Wiccan ritual. Working with them, familiarizing yourself with their powers, and pouring your own energy into them, you may find their use becoming second nature. Gathering them can be a problem, but this can also be seen as a magical test of the seriousness of your interest. As you collect each tool, you can prepare it for ritual. If old, it should be stripped of all associations and energies. You don't know who owned the tool, nor what purposes it may have been used. To begin this process, clean the tool physically using the appropriate method. When the object is clean and dry, bury it in the earth or in a bowl of sand or salt for a few days, allowing the energies to disperse. An alternate method consists of plunging the tool into the sea, river, lake, or even your own bathtub after purifying the water by adding some sea salt. Don't ruin a good piece of wood by wetting it. Similarly, don't mar the finish of some other object by allowing it to come into contact with salt. Use the most appropriate method for cleaning each tool. After a few days, dig it up, wipe it clean, and it's ready for your magic. If you use the water method, leave the object submerged for a few hours and then dry it. If desired, repeat until the tool is clean, refreshed, and new. You'll know by how the tool feels. There are consecration ceremonies for the Wiccan tools in Section 3, as well as preparation rites in the Herbal Grimoire section. Both are optional. Use as your intuition dictates. And that's something that I found very, very helpful. I do not only cleanse a tool physically and psychically, but a tool is also, for me, important to be dedicated to a specific purpose. And one of the ways that you can dedicate it to a specific purpose is by infusing it with your imagery. Imagery, you'll find, is extremely, extremely necessary when you're doing any kind of work, whether you're simply calling the quarters, casting a circle, dedicating an object for a particular purpose. Your ability to bring something to life in your mind will empower everything that you do, not just in your magical world, but in your real world, in your day-to-day actions. It will also keep you from sticking your foot in your mouth at the wrong time. Think about what you say before you say it. Imagine the reactions before you speak. When you are casting a circle, some would call it the third eye. And I guess that's as good a term as any. A good practice is to go outside for just a second. Now, as you're walking through your house, and you're walking down the hall, and you're opening the front door, look at everything around you. When you open the front door, look at the texture of the wood. Search it for an imperfection. Is there a thumbprint on the light switch? Something small like that. Sign it to your memory. Plant it there. That is a seed. Go outside. Feel the sun. Look very carefully at the grass. Get down on your hands and knees and smell it. Smell the dirt. Then go back inside and close your eyes. Now focus. See yourself in your mind getting up. Imagine the feeling of the carpet on your feet, the creak of the floor. Pay attention to the walls as you walk by, as the texturing in the walls pass you by. Look for the thumbprint on that light switch. See it in your mind. Touch it. Reach for the handle of the door and feel the coolness of the door handle under your skin. Hear the sliding. Feel the hinges. Touch the wood. Smell the wood. Pay attention to every detail. And as you walk outside, in your mind, feel the sun hitting your face and then reaching your arms. Feel the warmth go down your body. Feel the difference in the texture of what you're walking on as you step from carpet to concrete. Go into the yard in your mind and see that blade of grass. In your mind, get down onto your knees. Touch the concrete. Touch the cool grass. Look closely at the one blade of grass. Smell the dirt. Smell the herb. Look at the striations in the leaf and how they change color as they get closer to the ground. When you see these things, you have already created that. You have already done it. And this is the power of your imagery in all that you do. When you cast a circle, when you call the quarters, you will see and you will feel. When you face the south and you call the element of fire, can you feel the heat on your face? Can you smell the smoke? Can you see the flicker of the light? When you face the west, can you feel the gentle spray of seawater on your face? Can you hear the ocean? Can you see the watchtower standing in front of you? This is the power of your mind. This is the power of your magic. And this is the power that infuses all of your intent. Pay attention. And when you visualize, don't forget your sensations. Don't forget to smell. Don't forget the breeze on your face. Don't forget the sun, the warmth, the textures. Those things will all bring you in. Everything that you do with your eyes closed, you have already done. You, at night, can walk out and still enjoy the sun. It doesn't matter what it really looks like outside, because your mind has the power to create whatever you want. So when you're working, remember your power of imagery. Okay? Go for textures. Remember all the details of every step that you take. Because as you do it, you have created it. I wanted to say thank you for joining me for this little edition of the Open Circle. And I'm going to stop the broadcast, but I'm going to stop the recording of this particular section of Scott Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner.